Hello, welcome to my weekly video. Today I'm going to be doing a sketch, and I tried to get this a little bit bigger, but I couldn't figure it out, and my tech guy is at work right now. So I'm going to do this sketch, and I do have dimensions of all this stuff, but I am not going to go by that. And I'll show you. I'm not even necessarily doing the circles for this. So let's get started. I'm going to be using textured notes, stamps. Yeah, the stamps. I am using Stylish Shapes dies. And actually, I already have that cut, but I used this circle die for one of the circles. And just a good die set. And then this is Summer Splash cardstock. And instead of doing the 8.5 by 5.5, score 4.25, I went 4.25 by 11, score 5.5. So I did it the other way because I'll show you in a minute. And then I have a piece of designer series paper, and I just kind of, I can't even remember. It's 4.25 by 2.5. And I've also been playing around with some others that are different sizes than that. So like there's one, especially when I have the 6x6 sheets of designer series paper, a lot of times I'll have a 2-inch piece left. And so I'll probably use that on some cards. You could use any size. And if you want to go really big, you could do that too. So let me get started and grab my stamp and seal. I'll just tape this down right now so I don't forget it, don't lose it. And I'm just going to go maybe a little bit lower than halfway. Kind of like that. So this goes from edge to edge. And then I'm going to, and I forgot to grab a piece of scrap paper for something else. I have this scrap. Well, I'll use that scrap. Actually, I wasn't going to use that as scrap. Here. All right, so I have this leafy image from, I guess I could put that sketch right there. The leafy image from the textured notes, and I'm going to ink that up in Memento Black, and then just stamp that on my white cardstock. And it doesn't have to be, it's just a scrap because I'm going to cut this out. Well, it will be cut out. I already have one cut out. And then I'm just going to go in here and color these open leaves just to get a little bit of color. I thought about going just all black and white on this, but then I wanted some color in there. I got outside the line. So you do that, and then you take your favorite pair of small scissors and just fussy cut around, and you get this. And I had glue on my piece of paper, on my grid paper here. So there we've cut that out. And that's going to be one of our circles. And then to get the other circle, I am going to take a smoky slate and the basket weave thing from the stamp set. Same textured notes, and stamp that. And then I'm going to take the thank you from that same stamp set and stamp the thank you in Memento Black. And I got the up above, I rocked my stamp just a little bit on the pad, so I got the halo effect on there. So then I would take the die, and I should have left that die out. Take the die and line it up on there, and then I would washi tape it down so it doesn't move, and then cut it out like that. Magic of TV, right? So then I'm going to lay this down as the circle, and then I'll put this down over top. So I'm just going to use some of my Stampin' Seal on there. Kind of like that. And then I'm going to put this one up on dimensionals. Well, did I not get that seal on there? I just didn't stick it down. And then put that on dimensionals. And I've used most of the sheet, so I'm at the edges that I've already cut, except for that one, of course. The one I want is not cut. And then just peel those off. And put that down. I kind of go up a little bit, because then I'm going to take some baker's twine from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. I'm just taking the white, and I'm going to attempt to tie a bow and leave a little bit of space there. And so I'm just going to go around and then come back over here, and I can scooch it this way a little bit. That's why I did this type of fold. You know, I did the tent fold instead of the traditional fold, because I wanted to go all the way around the card with the twine. And then just gonna tie a simple bow. Hopefully, if the bow's not working out, then I'll tie a knot, because I actually think that I'll play around with that a little bit, and that should work okay. And then you can pull that in to get the loops smaller if you want. Make bigger loops. And I'll just play around with that. It's not staying the way I want it at the moment. And there you have a card, kind of like that sketch. And we'll show you the picture that I had. So here they didn't use the circles either. They used the jar stamp set, and I can't remember which stamp set that is. This is, I think, in the upcoming mini catalog. It starts in September. I'm not sure. I should have looked that up. Do I have that? Jar of Joy stamp set. Or maybe it's online exclusives. I think it's in the online exclusives, and it matches the jar stamp set in the annual catalog, or maybe it's online exclusives, the one that's been out for a little bit now. And they used the two-tone paper and then a strip of designer series paper, where I just went with a strip of designer series paper and you could definitely do, like two sides. Like I could have turned that over and done the flip side of that down across the bottom, or, have fun with it. So here's the sketch. And like I said, I didn't go by specific dimensions. And if you don't put the ribbon around, you could do the traditional fold. But if you make any cards with this sketch, you could feel free to leave them in the, put a picture in the comments. I'd love to see what you make. So yeah, that's it for today. And I will be back next week. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.